Okay, hello everybody. We're back for the second part of the wingtip. Just about done with that process. The wingtip itself is together, it's glued up. I put half of the gussets on, or really 3/4 of the gussets. I left the 2 gussets off of the T1 rib because we know that we're going to be breaking this little bit of tack glue that I have on these 2 carbon spars on the outside spars to raise us up to get the dehedral that we're looking for. And obviously there's no glue at all on this center spar on the T1 rib. Okay? Just make sure everybody understands that. Everything else goes together just like the rest of the wing. Obviously the trailing edge carbon spar comes all the way to the outside edge, and we need to adjust the actual wing block that goes in our tip block for that spar. And here's why. If we put the block together, now I've decided to do this. The instructions basically say to do 2 blocks and then start doing some carving to start shaping this the tip block. And I decided, I do a lot of woodworking, I decided to go ahead and do 3 blocks together and then adjust everything and do the carving from there. And I'll show you why. The reason I did that was because the first thing I had to do was on the bandsaw inset this spar. And the reason I had to do that was because if you don't and you just push this up to the spar, we're way out on the wing block. It is not matching up to the plans at all, and it's not going to give any bottom support or any kind of support to this carbon spar. So what you have to do is make that measurement, get the angle to that spar, and make sure that when you make that cut that you're doing it at the correct angle. Once you do this cut, then you can slide the tip block on. Okay, and now when we put it on the plans, now everything is lining up. Now we're good to go. The only other major adjustment that you need to remember as far as that is concerned is if you were to start carving here, we would have a major problem. And the reason is because the building tabs are still on these back tips or back ribs, and that's holding everything kind of off and kind of weird. I didn't take those off yet. You have to at least take the building tabs off the T6 rib and go ahead and do the contour of that particular rib, because you're going to need that contour to carve this block. So what I did was I matched the deflection of the carbon. I am now, put this over, I am now even. When I slide this carbon trailing edge in, this block is now even with the T6 rib on the bottom all the way across, and it's even at the tip. So that's what I needed to achieve. Now if I were to hold that in place, because I've taken this building tab off, now you can see that we are now above the rib, if that makes sense. I took a pin and drew the contour of that rib because I know that's where I need to come to when I do the carving. Okay, so that gives me the contour that I need to achieve on this tip block. Okay, now if you'll notice on the plans, they have basically marked out 3 sections here to give you a basic guide of depth and shape. If you look, that's 1, 2, 3 blocks. So we're going to carve down to the first block to about this area. We're going to carve down and out on the second block to about this area. And then we're going to finalize the shape with the 3rd block, which is not going to be, actually you're going to be taking very little off this 3rd block except for the very trailing edge. So I went ahead and made those markings on my block, and I'll be doing the carving from there, and that will give me reference marks to get me to the depth and basic contour of this wingtip. I feel like doing it this way and then coming back and gluing it back to this T6 rib when I'm done is better to me, because I'll be able to take both blocks, since it's going to be carved, I'll be able to do this with both blocks and hold them together and use a depth gauge and really get them exactly the same. My fear is that if I had went ahead and glued them to the T6 rib and started carving from there, I wouldn't have had quite the ability to get them as close to even or as close to the same as I possibly could. So I hope that makes sense. Onward and upward.